Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of my top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for week 7 of this NFL season. Just like always, guys, I'm going to give you guys my top waiver wire targets and for the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end position. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into that segment. But before I do, just in case I do have any first-time listeners, just so you guys are aware, these players do have to have at least 50% roster availability per Yahoo, so there is a good chance that these players are available out there on the market for you. So let's go ahead, start with the quarterback position. My top ad of the week, I'm going to go with Sam Howell. Not a lot of great options out there on the waiver wire market for quarterbacks right now. He is available in 62% of the leagues. Didn't really light up the scoreboard in terms of air production this week. He only had 151 yards, but he threw for 3 touchdowns. He ran the ball 4 times, only got three rushing yards, but that's something about Sam Howell's game is on any given Sunday, he can pick you up like anywhere between 10 to 20 yards rushing. He does have a rushing touchdown on the season. And the reason why I decided to give him as the top quarterback out of the week is because he just has such a wide variance and hit the outcomes of his games, right? Of course, he does have a very low floor, but he has such a high ceiling because this Washington team's defense is pretty bad. So there are games where he's going to have to put up numbers through the air, and he might be able to do that this week against that Giants defense, who has struggled this season. But as far as fantasy, they are only giving up 15.7 points per game. That is right there in the middle of all NFL teams in terms of fantasy production. But again, not a lot of great options out there on the waiver wires. So if you have players on a bye week, or maybe you suffered an injury to the quarterback position, you are looking for a different option this week. I just think that since Sam Howell offers you a potentially high ceiling, he would be worth a roll of the dice for me. My running back out of the week, I am going to go with Kareem Hunt. He's available in 64% of the leagues. Obviously, people weren't being patient with him, and that's why he got dropped. I know a lot of people picked him up after he signed, but I kind of mentioned this when he did get signed because I did think, Jerome Ford has done well. But the thing with Kareem Hunt is he wasn't going to just come right in and get a lot of touches. They were going to have to work him back into football shape. And now that he's 3 weeks back to be in the team, all of a sudden we got to see his touches increase significantly. Now he's going to be splitting the touches with Jerome Ford going forward, but he's definitely worthy of an add to your team. Now this past weekend, he had 12 rushes for 47 yards and a touchdown. He also had 3 receptions for 24 yards on 3 targets, and that was against that really good 49ers defense. This week, they are going against the Colts. The Colts have allowed 18.7 points per game to running backs this year. That is the 8th most allowed. So I think he's actually a really good flex play this week. And if anything were to happen to Ford, he would actually dominate the touches. Then you're talking about a very strong RB2 option for your lineup. So if you need some running back depth, I would definitely go see if Hunt is available out there in your waiver wires. My wide receiver ad of the week, I'm going to go with Josh Downs, the rookie wide receiver for the Colts. He's available in 67% of the leagues. This past weekend, he had 5 receptions for 21 yards on 8 targets. Now, in his first 6 games as a rookie, he has at least received 5+ targets. And the reason why I do like him as an ad, besides the fact that he's starting to see some consistent flow of targets every week, Alec Pierce did get hurt, so they're going to be down one of their top wide receivers. Shane Steichen did say they're going to see how Pierce can go throughout the week, but if Pierce does have to miss a week or two, that should funnel even more targets to Downs' way. Now, I don't necessarily love Downs as a play this week though, because I'm going to talk about this in my start sit tomorrow in more detail. But they are going against this Browns defense. Everybody knows how great this Browns defense has been at the beginning of the season. And as far as fantasy, they're only giving up 10.8 points per game to wide receivers this year. That's the fewest allowed across the NFL. But Downs to me is a very good addition for wide receiver depth on your bench, just so you have a backup potential wide receiver to deal with injuries and these buys that are going to be going on over this next month or so. My tight end ad of the week, I am going to go with Michael Mayer, the rookie tight end for the Raiders. What I saw from him this past Sunday, I actually really liked him. I thought he looked like he could be a very good quality receiving tight end. It looks like he could be that second to third passing option in that passing attack for the Raiders. This past weekend, he had the 5 receptions for 75 yards on 6 targets. I do want to see him maybe get at least 1 or 2 more targets a game, but I think this is a good start for him. I think that the fact that he just proved himself, that he should be able to see more of a consistent role within the Raiders offense. And he's got a pretty decent matchup this week. They're going against that Bears defense, who are allowing 7.4 points per game to the tight ends this year. That's the 11th most allowed in the NFL. So if you're looking for a streaming tight end, I would definitely consider Michael Mayer off the waivers this week. My flex ad of the week, I'm going to stick with the wide receiver position. I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson for the Giants. He's available in 82% of the leagues, and this past weekend, he had 8 receptions for 62 yards on 8 targets. Now, he's only played 3 games because he had missed the beginning of the year because of his injury from last year, but since he's been in the lineup, he's actually received at least 6 targets every game. I've liked what I've seen from him in this small sample size, and it actually seems like the Giants offense underneath Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka, it seems like they like what they have in Robinson, because it seems like the touches and the targets that he's gotten so far, it seemed like it's been manufactured. Like they called up plays to get the ball in his hands. So that's what I'm liking. It's starting to feel like he's probably going to be the receiver that's going to see at least the most consistent volume of targets where you can trust the out of all the Giants wide receivers. I've kind of stayed away. In terms of my fantasy drafts back in August, I stayed away from the Giants wide receivers just because there were so many of them. I didn't think you could trust any of them every week. But all of a sudden, once Robinson got in the lineup and he's seen these at least 6 targets a game, I think he's definitely worth of a bench ad. And then this week, though, he could be a very sneaky play in lineups. They're going against that Commanders defense, who's actually allowing 29.8 points per game to wide receivers this year. That's the second most allowed. So if you got a wide receiver injury you're dealing with, or maybe you got some wide receivers on buys, Robinson not only would be a good depth ad for your bench, but he could be a good guy to slide in into any lineups if you are going to be missing any of your wide receivers for week 7. So yeah, that is my top waiver wire ads. Let's go ahead and move into my top streamable defenses. And just like the players I talked about, just in case we have any first-time listeners, these defenses, they have to have at least 50% roster availability. So there's a good chance that you can go pick them up and stream them in your lineups this week. My number 1 ad of the week, I am going to go with the Raiders against the Bears. The Raiders are available in 53% of the leagues. That defense has played pretty well over the last 2 weeks. They've taken advantage of the matchups that they've had, and they have a good matchup they can take advantage of again for the 3rd week in a row. Again, going against the Bears defense, the Bears offense, who will more than likely, it sounds like they're going to be without Justin Fields, so it'll be Tyler Badgett, the undrafted free agent rookie, that will be more than likely be making his first career start. So I've said this before with the first round rookies, anytime I can stream a defense against a rookie, I'm always going to consider that, and especially when it's a rookie on a bad team in a bad offense. And then when you look what the Bears have allowed this year, they have allowed the 3rd most sacks, and they are tied for the 3rd most giveaways so far this year. My number 2 streaming defense, going with the Packers. The Packers are available in 82% of the leagues right now. They are going against the Denver Broncos. And we all know how bad this Broncos team is and how bad this Broncos offense has been. So far through the first 6 weeks of the season, they are tied for the 6th most sacks allowed, and they are tied for the 3rd most giveaways. So I just see them be able to get after Russell Wilson and get those sacks and get those turnovers on Sunday. My number 3 streaming defense, I am going to go with the Bucks against the Falcons. The Tampa Bay defense is available in 70% of the leagues right now, and it's mainly because what's weird about this Falcons offense, right? It's like they have all these playmakers. They could easily be putting up 28 points a game. It's just that they have Desmond Ridder at quarterback, and Ridder has been so up and down this season. You know, he had a good game last week, and he was actually pretty solid this past Sunday. He threw for over 300 yards, but he threw those 3 interceptions. So Ritter is going through his growing pains. So if I can take advantage of that in what is basically his rookie season, I'm going to try to take advantage of that, especially when they got a good defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, as far as what the Falcons have done this season, they are tied for the 6th most sacks allowed, and they are tied for the 4th most giveaways this year. So they have been proven to give up those sacks, give up those turnovers. So if I can take advantage of that, I definitely would look to do that, especially because like I do like the Bucs defense. They do have playmakers on all 3 levels of the ball. And I think they could take advantage of that in this home divisional matchup against Atlanta. My number 4 streamable defense. Now, this is a Thursday night game. So if this is going to be a defense you want to roll with, you're going to have to make that decision over here in the next 2 days. But I'm going to go with this Jaguars defense against the Saints. The Jaguars are available in 73% of the leagues right now. And the Jaguars sneakily have a really good defense right now. They actually lead the league in takeaways. They have forced the most turnovers in the NFL. They got Josh Allen up front. They got some guys on the back end and Devin Lloyd in the middle at the middle linebacker spot. And they're going against the Saints offense that has really struggled. They have not lived up to the expectations after the signing of Derek Carr. I think they've reached, they only gotten over 20 points once this year. So that whole offense is struggling. So they're not really putting up the points. And then they're also tied for the 6th most sacks allowed. So, you know, this is kind of a, if the Jaguars defense hasn't been playing as good as they are, this is kind of a risk-reward type of matchup because at some point you would think the Saints offense will click, but it seems like they are having some woes underneath their current offensive coordinator, and then the Jaguars defense has been playing really good football over the last 3 weeks. So I think they are a sneaky streaming defense for week 7. My number 5 streaming defense. Now, this is a really roll of the dice defense. This is going to be probably if you're in a 12 to 14 team league streaming defense. But I'm going to go with the Giants against the Commanders. The Giants are available in 98% of the leagues right now. And it's mainly because I thought they did impress when they played the Bills. You know, the Bills do have one of the better offenses in the league. And they also have a good, solid matchup that they can take advantage of. Because like I mentioned about Sam Howell, he's got a wide variance of how him and those games for that Washington offense goes this season. Either they're really good or they struggle at times. And then what I really like about this matchup is, man, why am I forgetting that guy? The defensive Wink Martindale. The defensive coordinator likes to send the blitz. He likes to try to get sacks. Well, this is an offense to do that against because the Commanders have allowed the most sacks in the NFL this season, and they're also tied for the most giveaways. They are pretty much handing away sacks at this point, so they are now starting to look like a good offense to stream against. But you just also have to understand this Commanders offense also can click and put up points at times. But even when they're putting up points, like I streamed the Falcons defense last week, you know, it didn't really do great, but they still got those sacks for me where I still got at least a solid points out of them. Maybe they didn't get the ceiling I wanted out of them, but they give you a solid floor when you play this Commanders offense because of all the sacks that you can get. But like I said, too, they're tied for the 4th most giveaways, so there's that turnover potential as well. So yeah, those are my top streaming defenses for week 7. As always, guys, if you have any questions about players on the waivers or defenses you're considering streaming this week, hit up the comment section, hit up my DMs, and I will always try to get back to you as soon as I can. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to all my social media channels, or follow me depending on which platform you're on. Other than that, you guys will hear from me tomorrow night when I do my top starts and sits for week 7. I'm gonna hop off here so I can get this video up to you guys as soon as possible. I hope you guys enjoy your week. I'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace out.